All right, good afternoon or good morning and afternoon, everybody. Good to have you guys here. Excited to have another Producer's Edge on air session live with you guys, or if you're watching the recording, appreciate you guys taking the time to really put a focus on what we think is gonna, I think, revolutionize your sales process. Obviously, saw the title of the invitation, a visualization tool that is going to help you enhance your annuity appointments and potentially have breakthroughs to get over the hump that some of you may be seeing when it comes to the stall effect that happens with some of your appointments when it comes to pitching the annuity sales. So just a refresher on why we're here. If you're here to learn more about the ultimate index annuity visualization software tool, then you've come to the right place. We are going to be addressing how you can break through the annuity barrier. We're going to be talking and having a conversation with the co-founders and the founders of a software platform that we believe truly is the missing piece of the puzzle that many of you may need that you need in your process to have more success. A little bit of us, we are the Wealth Integrity Network Group. We're a national marketing organization built to help enhance your process, your branding, your leads, your marketing, and also your understanding of how annuities can work for your clients. We're a full support, massive network backed by some of the biggest brands in the industry and in partnership with Aegis Financial and into the Integrity family. Also, we always want to stress that we work hard, but we're also here to play hard. Your business, when you run it through us, is built to make an investment back in you, whether it's software, like some of the things we're going to talk about today, tools, marketing, branding, even annuity lead marketing training. This is all a part of the benefits you get with the Win Group. Last but not least, like I said, if you are one of our top producers here for the year, all your production counts towards credits to earn a trip to Hawaii next year. For those who are reaching a top tier of at least 4 million and above, you might be eligible to participate. So learn more about that. Reach out to our team here at the Win Group. And we are joined by my other colleagues here. We got Brett Riley in the house. We got Ricky Villi. These are our success coaches, our VPs here with the Win Group that are here to talk about or be a part of the partnership of helping expand all the tools and the things that you should be using, like the ones we're going to talk about today. So we're here to talk about how you can break the annuity barrier. And before we get into what the software is, I want to set the stage for what many of you may be running into. Why are you having roadblocks? What are the challenges to selling annuities up front? Well, for many of you, I'm sure you've run across potentially a Fisher investment ad or other ads like this that are anti-annuities. So the marketplace, there's already a lot of information about annuities, but a lot of it causes confusion, if anything, sometimes fear about what an annuity can do. And we all know there are different types of annuities. There's also the credibility gap. When it comes to recommending an annuity, what makes you that person that they should trust? And coming from an insurance only place, and I know many who are watching this right now are insurance only producers, a lot of times that could be a roadblock to getting the edge, right? So maybe if you're up against, say, someone who's fiduciary licensed. So there's that credibility gap. And last but not least, for some of you, you've been kind of taught that, hey, if I come in with an annuity solution, great illustration, I'm going to get the sale done. Well, what we call that a trap because unfortunately, even though clients want to see illustrations, even though clients want to see the numbers, it unfortunately puts you in a position where it eliminates all the value. You don't get to really build a story around what the annuity can do around concepts. And that's what we're talking about is how do we build a process that creates concepts or builds the concepts around the annuity without actually talking about the annuity, right? Focusing on the story, the principles of what annuity can do, a fixed index annuity specifically, without actually having to bring out an illustration from the carrier or talk about the annuity up front. And last but not least, I think a biggest part about this is that clients are getting overloaded with information. The disclosures, the fine print, all that does is that it puts a little, puts up walls where it prevents them from really making a decision. So at the end of the day, what is the solution? Well, for us, it's the partnership we developed with WealthlogiX. And for many of you who are probably hearing about this for the first time, stay with us till the very end because we're going to give you an opportunity where you can actually gain access to the software for a full year, fully paid for, $1,500 value at no cost. So learn about those details by staying with us till the very end. And I'm going to post a link to the website where you can actually learn more if you have more interest about the software. At the conclusion, you could book a demo with one of our team members here. All right, with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to our partners and friends at WealthlogiX. Excited to introduce them. It's been a long-standing partnership and friendship with these guys for the last 5 years now, and really good to see the journey that you've had, Kristen, and Keith, developing the software from the ground up. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and before we get into what the software is.
Sure. So I'm Kristen Cooper. I'm the founder, president, whatever you want to call me. I came to realization after using so many softwares that I needed help, and I'm going to create it myself. I got really frustrated. So I've been in the business 11 years. I've done marketing, seminars, webinars, radio, everything you can think of for marketing. And I guess my story of it is I came home and I was complaining multiple times to my husband, this guy right here, um, about I can't get a software
To do
that do exactly
exactly,
what I wanted.
yeah.
Um, there are great tools out there. I still use them, but I would be merging like three different ones, trick the software to do what I want it to do. And a
No
lot
one here's ever done that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they're old, they're outdated, they look archaic. And I still use those things for income looking, production, but I found that software out there just never helped in the sale of an IUL or an FIA. Really what today we're focusing on is the annuity side. But so I kind of started saying, okay, we need to create something that makes the sale process easier, um, and a storytelling format. That's what I love, what I do. I can do it with clients for reviews. I can do it at a webinar. I can do it at a seminar
Mhm.
right there in real time, which I love doing. And then everyone's like, can I sign up or can I do that? That's what you want, right? You want interaction, um, like that if you're marketing the right way. So
Now,
that's kind of how it came to be. And it's 4 years of, we thought it was going to be, 9 months, maybe
of,
12
of development and a
of
little bit of
development,
money, and we were set.
hiring coders.
Well, I
So
think you'll see a couple things as we go through a few components of WealthlogiX. Number one, Kristen nor I are developers. And I think that's actually a really good thing. We're not engineers. And secondly, you'll be able to clearly see that this was indeed created by a top producer in the way that it supports the natural sales conversation of that we want to have and control. A couple things that Kristen absolutely said were,
mandatory.
yeah, just mandatory.
I wanted it to be simple, dynamic, right? That you could do right there in real time.
Change things.
I wanted the price to be, the right point. I, I wanted it to be really help in the sale of the process and educate. So, but really it's about simplicity. I wanted it to be easy on the eye too.
Something you'll notice as well as we go through it. We're going to stop saying we're going to go through it and actually get to it right now. But one of the other problems that Kristen would often complain about is that you'd get a static PDF
Oh yeah.
as the output. And ladies and gentlemen, when you're trying to sell by PDF, you might put it up on the screen in a Zoom meeting, you might put it in front of them on the table, and you're trying to start up here at the top, right? You're trying to tell a story and guide them through and have them connect the dots. But the beginning, middle, and end of the story are all right there. So while you're up here trying to tell a story, their eyes are two-thirds down the page. They've kind of tuned you out,
Made a decision already.
and they are well on their way to making decisions and drawing conclusions already. That is very, very bad from a sales process. And so not only did it have to be web-based, dynamic, it had to be something that, as we're going to say, naturally enhances the story. So with all that, the bottom line was Kristen decided to create her own. And we've been live with WealthlogiX since November
November.
of last year. It's been a long but amazing journey. And so let's, Phil, guys, should we jump right in here?
Let's jump right in. And by the way, thanks for that introduction. I think I just want to emphasize that this is a producer first led platform, right? I think that's so important you guys started off with that because I think a lot of times and then the software and platforms that we've seen, and there's some really good ones out there, that are, when you guys get to what this is going to cost, which is going to be I think pennies to the dollars when you think of what else is out there. You guys have truly made it simple, easy to use, and you've really positioned it to really be client first. Make it easier for the client to understand. And that's why we're so excited about diving into some of the things that we're going to walk through with WealthlogiX.
You
And
know, there's two things we'll start with as a foundation. If you confuse, you lose, right? If you confuse, you lose. It doesn't matter how good the data is. And secondly, there's a organizational psychologist. My background is behavioral economics, so you forgive me for a moment. But there's a guy named Adam Grant. If you don't follow him, you should. He's amazing, an organizational psychologist. And in one of his books called Hidden Potential, it says, if people can't see the path, they stop dreaming of the destination.
mm,
And I believe that so much software out there does not understand that concept and principle. So that's everything that Kristen has designed and built and tested over the years. It's been so humbling to see so many people latch on to this, to use it in their practices, to see it shorten their sales cycle, to see it light bulbs in clients' eyes go off, and for people to say, no one's ever shown me something like that before. That's the result. That's the response you want from a client because now you know they are starting to see you differently than everyone else.
Mhm.
This will help with that. So here we go. Here's the website. I'm going to log in real quick, and this is obviously going to be a demo or kind of a test account that we use. When you log into WealthlogiX, everything you have your clients and all things like that. You'll have the ability to come to your profile and totally make it yours and all that. Upload your own logos. There's walkthrough videos everywhere you go, how to do this, how to do that. But if we come back here, when we click into a client, I guess I'm going to pick on Sonia here, we're presented with a concept page with IUL, FIA, and conversion concepts. And Phil, Brett, and Ricky, this is going to line up well with your income shield, tax shield concepts that Retirement Shield is so good with in your material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in the FIA concept world at first. And we're going to, anytime you want to see, hey, what is this? What is this? You can just expand it and see it's very simple. It's intuitive. But let's come into the income foundation module. Would that be all right to start with?
do
And
it.
this is going to be the a look at an income writer or a SPIA maybe, but the income production ability of an income writer compared to alternatives. So, Ricky, I'm going to pick on you here. We have your example here. Now, this is a real case, Kristen, that you did. And this was, a carrier out there. And we're just going to protect the name of the innocent. If you know it, you know it. But here we had 500,000 that we were considering putting into an income rider based annuity. Is it taxable or pre-tax? Whatever there, give it a name. So, Ricky, we're picking on you. This is your brokerage account right now. Give us a tax rate. How old are you? What do we want to plan through? And assign a reasonable rate of return that we think might be achievable. So 6% here. And secondly, what we're going to do is compare the income rider, its income production ability, to not just what if it made six, but also the historical returns, the year by year returns of some very common options. So in this case, we'll just choose a 60/40. Now we get to the income rider details, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to name it Guaranteed Income Solution. Some people say private pension. Some people simply say income annuity. Whatever you want to call it, call it. The really neat thing here is you only need to know two things to create the scenario. When would you like the guaranteed income to start? And what is the guaranteed level income? That's it. You don't even need an illustration. It'd be nice to have, sure. All you need is a quote.
And we
For
have the
those,
income analyzer tool, just I want to throw that in, that can literally forecast ahead and we can find a whole chart
oh,
of that data for you ahead of time. And then you can input it in to this tool here, which is great.
that is very good because as you're going to see in real time, what if I wanted to take it in year four instead? And you can very easily swap back and forth if you have that data. For those of you out there who do increasing income, we do all that as well. You simply put in your first amount, the annual increase you want to show, or you can copy and paste the income column from the non-guaranteed side of the illustration right here. Or you can simply put in the first year, say we're a little bit less than the guaranteed level, and what is the last year or the age 95 income value per the non-guaranteed side of the illustration if you're doing that, and the software knows what to do. I'm going to take this off and just kind of leave this out. We're just going to look at guaranteed level for now. But the other thing it can do is
ADLs.
ADL doublers. Now, we know there are some out there where you have to have cash value in order for it to work. There are others out there that will double for up to 5 years, even if you just have $1 of cash value when the doubling starts. And there are those out there that don't require any cash value to double. Fine, whatever. Use this as you see fit and in accordance with the product that you are using. But what we're going to do right now is say, yes, we want to show an ADL doubler at age, hypothetically, 78, and for a 3-year period. That's all this is. It's so simple. We don't care about roll-up rates. We don't care about bonuses. We don't care about payout rates. Don't care. Doesn't matter. Because all of those things culminate to create that number. And as long as we know that number and at what year it starts, we're good. Now, when we save and run it, we're going to be presented with something, which is nothing. Why not?
We want to control the story.
All right, so this is your screen. Nothing. Beginning, middle, and end, not anything yet. But I'm going to kind of go into a presentation mode as if maybe, being talking to a client. And so we got John and Mary, right? So John and Mary, if we decided in this case, we're considering reallocating maybe $500,000 to a guaranteed income annuity. If we did that, and if we turned on the income at year 6, it will be $60,800 a year. Will be. This is a known outcome. And if we lived through age 95, in this case, we will have 1.885 million at the end of that time. This is a known outcome. And so you establish it. This is a foundation, right? Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's ask the brokerage account making a hypothetical but reasonable 6% to give us the same amount. And we're going to hit show next. You can even have the client interact and say, why don't you hit show next for us if they're in the office with you? And so we do. And what do you see? Ask for feedback. What do you see, John and Mary? Well, it doesn't look like it finishes. Well, that's right.
Doesn't go the distance.
So it goes into the 18th year and then dies, which happens to be also 18 years too soon before our target age of 95 in this case, and is also, listen to how we say this, $1.1 million short of the guaranteed outcome of the annuity or whatever, private pension, whatever. Okay. That'll raise some eyebrows. But let's do this. Let's do one other thing. In this case, we're looking 36 years into the future, aren't we? From age 60 through 95. That's 36 years. What if we took the last 36 years of actual year by year returns of a 60-40 portfolio? What if we did that? Now, we have some bad years in there, but there's some really good years too, aren't there? Yeah, there are. All right, let's see. Little better, but it still dies 13 years too soon and is $800,000 less than the guaranteed outcome of the annuity. Sometimes, guys, break for a moment. Sometimes this is enough. And we want to make a point here. The software is here to serve you, not you it. So while we are going to take you through some other things here that are really neat to show, if the client is ready,
write the paperwork.
Stop talking. Make the sale. Move on, right? Gain the client or improve their situation. So here we go. Let's talk about the ADL doubler. So John, what if, let's say that at age 78, hypothetically, you needed long-term care. Is that a possibility? Go like this. It is. Okay. Well, what if this guaranteed income annuity were to double its payment to you for, say, a 3-year period when you needed care? Would that be kind of neat? Let's look at it. So right here is where we're assuming the income will double. And anytime you want, you can click on these table icons and see the income schedule and see the doubling highlighted right here. That's kind of neat. All right. Well, what happens to this bar right here, the 6% assumption? Nothing, because it's already dead by the time we're assuming long-term care might be needed. So nothing happens there. But what do you notice happening down here on the 60/40? When we force it to double as well,
It tries.
it does try. Here's how we can show it tried. It gave us a little bit, but then what happened? It died, and all this is the result. And it died and took 2 years of life. This was 13 years too soon when we didn't double. But when we force it to do what the guaranteed income annuity will do, we lose 2 years of life and our shortfall grows to over $1 million. That's a really neat feature. Okay, so let's move on here. The longevity. So we have this sideways, guys. Why is this graph sideways? Because it feels like a.
I like it.
Because first of all, she said that. But it feels like a race, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And what finishes the race and what doesn't
Mhm.
finish the race? We have spent a lot of time in the naming of these modules: income foundation, retirement buffer, tax scorecard, things that are very marketable and memorable on purpose. So here we are in the income foundation part. Let's force these guys to finish the race. How about that? If we were to force them to go through age 95, what would we have to do to this income? And they'll tell you, well, it'd probably have to take out less. How much less? Let's find out. Okay. So if we're assuming 6%, fairly reasonable, we would have to take out we could only take out about 33,000 a year. Yes, now it will last till age 95 and then be out of money. What if you lived at 96 or 97? You're still dead. You're not dead because you're alive. Your money's dead. But the green bar up here does not stop. We need to make that point. 85, 95, 105 doesn't matter. We're now forcing these guys to live to 95. If we thought the 60/40 portfolio, if we thought the historical returns were any kind of guide for the future, we might be able to take out 42 to 43,000 a year. But guys, that is still $560,000 less than the guaranteed outcome of the annuity over this time period. All right, well, 6% isn't doing it. We know that. We come back here and we see what 6% gets us. Well, what would make the brokerage account or the IRA, whatever we're looking at, go the distance with the exact same income amount through age 95? Ready? Here we go. It is a red hot 11.17% that you must earn.
This is not an average. This is year by year.
It's linear. So I mean, you got to pound that too, that this is not because someone might say, well, I might be able to average that if I really grow. Okay, you might be able to. But this is a linear return. And this is how you might consider saying it. You have to hit that return every year, year in, year out, without fail. You can never make less, not once. If you did, it would break and not match the guaranteed outcome of the annuity. What about over here in the 60/40 mix? What if we did this? What if we ran 10,000 random simulations of the same technicals as the 60/40 portfolio's history? Or so guys, maybe not share this with a client, but so you understand what we do in the background with the math is create 10,000 unique data sets that have the same standard deviation, variance, Sharpe ratio, minimum, maximum, and average. 10,000 unique data sets. And ask the question, what percentage of them make it and match this outcome? 7%. If we included the ADL doubler, in other words, forcing it to double as well, now we have to make near 12 every single year, or in a 60/40 only has a 3% chance of being able to do that, to double when called upon and still not run out of money through 95. The final piece here is amount. One of the neat stories about an income rider or even a SPIA, right, is that you can do more with less. You do a lot more with a lot less. Okay. How much more would we need to start with from the beginning in this hypothetical brokerage account or an IRA, right, to get the same outcome as the annuity through age 95? Ready? Here we go. Oof. If we assume 6%, right, a reasonable kind of moderate average, we must start with 900. We need $921,000 to get the same outcome as 500,000 in the annuity. If we looked at a 60/40 for help and used the historical, we would need another 200,000. 711,000 starting balance to get the same outcome. And someone might say, well, that 200,000 is not that much more. It's 40% more. It's a lot more that you would have to commit to income production. Lock it up.
Less money for fun.
That's the point, right? Because here, what you're able to say to the client is we're freeing up somewhere between 200 to $400,000. What can you do with that money?
A lot.
What can you do?
Cruise.
Cruise. She says cruise. Okay, cruise and be on the beach, read a book all day. That's Kristen. I'm a cabin in the wood guy. So you can buy a cabin, you can go on more cruises. The point is, anything you want, it's been freed up. All right.
We have a purpose-driven retirement questionnaire fact finder that is a part of our process that allows clients to talk about the fun stuff in retirement that they want to do, not just paying the bills and covering the bills and things.
Yeah.
This would be like the perfect time to just pull that out. Well, I read through your answers here and it looks like you want to do the X, Y, and Z. Do you think we could apply that money there to those fun things? Bam. Now you're speaking in their language. Yeah.
Personalize it.
Yeah.
And just to, and here's the ADL doubler too. Anytime you want to throw that on, you can see the difference. Now you need an additional 500 grand, so double for the doubler to come along with the ride, right? Just to show how dynamic this is, maybe, well, what if I took income at year 5? Okay, cool. And if you got your quote, your income analyzer thing with that you guys have, cool. Rerun. You don't have to say, come back next Tuesday. I'll print it out for you. I'll have it. I don't know. I'll talk to the FMO, get a new. The heck with all of that. Do it right there. Make it interactive. Let them. It becomes like a game. Well, what if this? What if that? Cool. Let's look at it. What if I wanted to do 100% equities? Right on. Okay. A little bit higher on the success probability. My amount drops to 198 instead of 211 that I would need extra. Still 40% more. So again, what we're going to keep coming back to this. Tell the story one step at a time. Show something, talk about it. Show the next thing, talk about it. Interact. When you guys do this is just as much about the sales process as it is the data. When you do this, you're putting them in their own story. You're showing them a path toward a destination that they can easily start to visualize. So that's the income foundation module. This is about 5% of what the software does.
No, I like to just pause here real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a few questions that may come up, but I just want to acknowledge, the story that's being told. And what makes it so great is I love that like running the race. I love how you've created these bars and with different color tones. And I love that we're just doing this all right inside the platform, right? You're utilizing this as a visual tool that you can actually walk the client through. And you're seeing these numbers in real time. It's like, wow, it just makes it so much more real for me and engaging if I'm a client sitting and watching this. I already feel like this makes sense the way you're telling that story. So this is, I think, an awesome tool. And if there's any questions in regards to what was just covered, definitely type it into chat. I think Ricky and Brett have done a good job to respond back here and there with a few other agents, but good work so far. This is great.
Cool. All right. Very good. Let's go to where should we go from here, Phil?
Well, I think, we covered how the Income Foundation addresses those who sell annuities around income benefit riders, right? He's showing the income comparisons. We see the value there. I think that another a big feature that we really stress and like to see is the concepts around sequence of returns. I think a lot of people have heard about this concept. Different carriers have focused on it. The idea that, hey, what if you're drawing income out at the wrong time in the market, and how fast can your money run out? And I believe that retirement buffer feature really helps illustrate those risks.
Yeah. It does. Let me address a little bit from a compliance standpoint and all that. So just so we say this, we are not your compliance department. So make sure that what you're doing, and the way you're presenting it is in compliance. And that the carriers are cool and all that. Just make sure. All right. So this is a tool. Use it the right way. All right. Let's go to, let's see, conversion, Roth conversion. Carol, here we go. Let's go to the Roth conversion. So we're going to go, all I have to do if I want to stay within the same client that I'm working with, I can come here to the sidebar and I want to go to the tax scorecard. So let's look at that. Okay, let's look at, I have some existing scenarios, and again, this is a demo account. So let's say that we've got Ricky. No, let's go with Brett this time. So here's Brett's IRA. And we have 1.25 million, 62 years old, RMDs, et cetera. We'll plan through 95. Very simple setup. Let's say effective rate is 15, and we'll skip the secondary tax rate for now. With this, you can do all kind of distribution assumptions. You can assume an RMD only. You can assume it's reinvested or not reinvested. You can also schedule distributions. Say I want them to start at 70 and I want it to be 50,000 a year, or a custom percentage of 5%, right? You can do all this, or hey, just deplete the account from age 70 through 95. Do all that. That's fine. But for the purpose of story, let's say that Brett here does not need the RMDs, and we're going to reinvest him. All right, we'll say Social Security is 55,000 at age 70, 1.5% COLA. He's married, and let's look at IRMA too. Let's see how if we looked at this qualified account in a vacuum. That's all we're doing. Okay, we're not taking the full picture into account. This is a conversion discussion. How can we look at this in a vacuum and say, okay, how does it affect Social Security? How would IRMA be affected here? And then let's also assume I don't know.
Say 7.
You want to say 7? Okay, 7-year conversion period. And we'll assume an additional 6% taxation during that time to account for any tax drift. Now, we also do bonuses. You can show a bonus on conversion and things like that to help recoup potentially taxes and things like that. I'm going to leave that as a no right here, but we certainly do it. And let's save and run it. And what are you going to be presented with?
Nothing.
Nothing. Not yet. Okay, up here is the bottom line, the 2 summary cards or tax scorecards, but we load it right here on purpose. So here we go. So Brett, we just let this go and just let the RMDs come out, that forced usage from the lovely IRS, we would pay somewhere around $576,000 in taxes over your lifetime. Just taxes on the RMDs. Now, as we go through this as well, keep in mind about how this might look at a workshop or a seminar, which is where
I use it.
It's a very cool tool to do live. If we didn't need the RMDs, we can reinvest them. Where do most people reinvest them?
Brokerage account.
Yeah, laddered CDs, money market accounts, something like that. Okay, so if we're doing that, it's taxable, isn't it? That might create another 400 or so in taxes. When heirs inherit the IRA,
because there will be leftovers.
In this case, there are going to be leftovers. Do they have to pay taxes? Yes, and we got Secure Act 2.0, the 10-year tax trap. You can take a moment and talk about it before going to the next thing. So, okay, they might have somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 in taxes. Now, guys, if they let it defer for 7 years or 8 years, the heirs, and then they have this huge balance that they have to take over 1, 2, or 3 years, oh my gosh.
That will go up.
So this could be conservative. Okay, fine. Well, now let's look at Social Security taxation. You can have a talk about provisional income if you need to. What causes Social Security to have collateral tax damage? Because on its own, in the absence of other income, Social Security is tax-free. And while there is theoretically a situation,
most of the time, you have to say that.
Well, theoretically, it can happen where Social Security could cause taxation on itself. Today, those conditions don't exist, but it's theoretically possible. All right, well, that would cause another roughly $200,000 of probably unexpected reduction from income. Let's look at IRMA. What's IRMA? You can have a discussion about it. Ooh. Now, this is where people start throwing stuff. You guys,
They get upset about Social Security taxes and IRMA.
oh, is it a button?
But why? Why am I paying tax on this? I paid taxes my whole life, and now I'm in retirement and I have to pay more.
It feels like double taxation. And then the IRMA surcharge. The surcharge is just a fancy word for tax. And so it's an interesting thing to say. So let's say you're paying an additional $400,000 for Medicare. Do you get better doctors, better care? Do you even get to go to the front of the line? No, no, you don't. You just have to pay more for the same thing. And what causes that? You're really driving the point home here. Well, it's collateral damage that are often caused, among other things, qualified accounts. And again, we're just looking at this qualified account in a vacuum. So altogether, we might have about $1.9 million in taxes over your lifetime, but they are what? This is a little bit unfair. Why?
Because taxes are probably going to go up.
Have we seen our national debt? If we take a look at the fiscal demographics and, well, the fiscal pressure and the demographic pressure our nation is under, didn't we just cross 39 trillion? It is probably unethical not to model in at least a modest tax increase at some point. So let's say it goes to 18% as an effective rate in
We're
year
not saying 70.
Year 8. Yeah.
We're being conservative.
Is this reasonable? It's probably too reasonable. Sure it is. Is it foreseeable?
Say 20.
She wants me to say 20. Okay. Well, that's the point. You can change it and do anything you want. So instead of 1.9, now we're at 2.3, and we hate to say, but that's probably the more likely. But do you guys see how compelling this is one by one, the presentation of it? So, okay, let's go to conversion analysis, and you talk them through it. We've assumed you've converted over the next 7 years in this case. If we've converted to a Roth or to an IUL, we don't say what.
Yeah. You don't say what the conversion.
No, at least we don't in the presentation here. Does a Roth IRA have RMDs? No, and even if it did, they're tax-free, right? It would be tax-free. So that drops to nothing. And if we don't have any RMDs, we're forced to reinvest in a taxable environment. We have no reinvestment taxes, so that also goes to zero. When heirs inherit a Roth IRA, do they pay inheritance taxes, or does Secure Act 2.0 come into play? Kinda, but it's tax-free anyway. Do they still have to take it out over 10 years? Actually, yes, unless it's an IUL. Yes, they do, but it's no tax. So that goes to zero. Social Security taxes, what were they? Well, let's remind ourselves. After the increase, 266 after the assumed increase in the 8th year. Well, okay, all right, let's see what it is here. Darn it. We weren't able to get rid of all of it, but a fat amount. IRMA surcharges, they were 400?
Yeah. For.
Oh, we can just look. Oh, 366, sorry. I was wrong. And that did drop to nothing. We got rid of all those. Conversion taxes, we do have taxes on conversion. Let's talk about it, be real. So that's a thing. And altogether, we're at $318,000. Instead of, go to the compare paths, just hit see all. Isn't this a wonderful screen? I love this visually. You can imagine it up on the big screen at your workshops. But what a neat discussion and way of laying it out. It's roughly $2 million in tax savings, 59,000. It's like having an additional 59,000 a year, which is an 86% reduction in taxes. Now, is this the really deep planning software like Holistiplan, which is great, or a retirement? No, still do the actual deep dive Roth analysis.
You want to. This is a concept, right? Storytelling of what it potentially could look like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you guys said that, because I was going to say, I think I want to make sure that as we're going through this process, we've stressed at the very beginning that this is a concept-driven platform. There's eMoney, there's Riskalyze, there's other types of programs. eMoney Guy. There's so many other programs that are going to, have a more extensive, comprehensive, deeper dive, like as you mentioned. But the whole goal,
but showing the story, like getting that story started and having someone say, I've never seen something like it's never been put to me like this before. That happens every day with WealthlogiX. And you can even come here, right? We're showing about 2 million of tax savings. What if it were half that? Is it still worthwhile to investigate? Is it still enviable? Sure, it is. And what happens in the seminars when Kristen is doing this is what she was saying earlier. People start raising their hands and say, "Can you put in 900,000? Social Security is 58,000."
Yeah, they want theirs right there.
They start doing that, and that's what you want. And you're like, okay, all right, well, yes. When you come to see me in my office, and who of you guys, just like Brett here in the first row, would also like their tax scorecard done? Hands go up, appointments are made.
But
And I know
again,
you mentioned workshops, but I also believe for many people who are working leads or individual appointments or
Zoom,
remote
100%.
selling,
yeah.
this really does help break down these concepts or break down the understanding of how, what the risks are, what they're exposed to by leaving it where it's at. And I think, someone asked a question about breaking down like how this was done per individual category. I think the goal and intention is that there should be some understanding of what happens when you convert, that money into a Roth. But maybe you can answer that question, Keith, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we don't show tables upon tables or spreadsheets upon spreadsheets. Could you see that as an audit somehow, some way? Sure, we could build that in, but this is the math. And so what we're into is showing the bottom line, the destination, and if we have enough people requesting that kind of thing,
We'll
sure,
do it.
yeah. Um, and you are going to have some engineers that will want that too. Totally get that.
But that's
That
why you use your other software too. Like
that's a
here,
minority of
you
the
just get
time,
this
though,
is a concept, but we will dive in if this is what you want to see in your plan,
yeah,
right? Then you go and use the other software to
for that
really
deep
dive
dive.
in.
So
And
Yeah.
this is important, and because a lot of agents who may be utilizing Roth conversions as a part of the story, the carriers that we work with, and in the IMO space, a lot of our carrier partners have adopted the Roth
sure.
conversion story as
Thank
as part of
goodness.
their
I know.
policy.
Thank goodness.
But the one thing that they're not able to necessarily show, at least not most of them, is how to conceptualize it through numbers and showing it through, the way that you've displayed it here so well. I want to stress again, this is the 10,000-foot view. And for many of the agents who are on this call, again, that's the gap that we're trying to fill. How do you go from just talking about how it works to showing you how it works? And this, as a consumer, this helps me understand it a little better than just, I'm being
Oh
told
yeah.
it's going to
And
work.
let me just say, I mean, this is pretty darn good, right? But as far as managing tax brackets and all that, sure, use Retirement Analyzer, use Holistic Plan, whatever you're out there using,
Normally I say this is not your plan, right? I just wanted to show you
surface
so
level.
that
Yeah.
taxes are a big role.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bringing
Um,
home the concept. It's warming them up, keep warming them up, getting them sold on the idea, the concept that no one's shown them before yet. And then that light bulb goes off and it's like, all right, I need to do a deep dive on this concept with
yeah.
my actual numbers. Now I'm ready to go through this other tool that you have that can really break it down, maybe, like using those
Exactly.
other third-party software
The
tools.
other, yes.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, like, and then this is like the roadmap, right? Or the action plan. Here we have an action. Let's use the right vehicles to get those conversions done.
Right. You can easily jump from this, converting X amount a year over to if you're doing an IUL, by the way, you can easily come into the comparative analysis, dump in the converted amount and show a
You can
conversion
use
to
an
an
annuity as
IUL.
well, though.
You can use an annuity. It doesn't really matter. It's pretty agnostic as far as that goes. So I think this tool is one that people use maybe more than anything else to jump because when someone comes in and says my CPA says I shouldn't do Roth conversions, it's like, okay, did they give you any math behind that? And the answer is always no. I just didn't. It
They,
didn't seem like a good idea.
it doesn't help me today.
Yeah, right. And CPAs are all only going to look at the near term most of the time. And no offense to anyone who's a CPA on here, but what makes a CPA good is, hey, they lowered my taxes today.
Yeah, exactly.
We're having that long view or that macro view here and able to show the client the other side of the pre-tax equation. What lives on the other side of that equal sign? No one really demonstrates that. This helps start that answer. And so people, again, they will say, no one's ever shown me anything like that before. And that's the response you want. Phil, I don't know where else you want me to go here, but this is about 15%
The buffer.
of the
Yeah, we were
annuity.
talking about the retirement buffer earlier, and I
Sure.
think that's and maybe we could spend just maybe a quick 10 minutes. And as a reminder, everybody here is eligible to be a part of our upcoming members only exclusive training where we're going to dive even deeper, have a more open conversation where we get to actually be a part of the conversation as well. I know we're doing this more webinar style to kind of give you guys a tease. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we want to
Um,
definitely everyone to book their access and demo call on our annuity sales logics.com website. But yeah, if we can dive in real quickly into the retirement buffer, where
yep.
does this fit?
Okay, so this is going to be more the accumulation side, and the bond replacement also is more the accumulation side. But if you really want to get into sequence of returns,
This is
retirement buffer is a great tool. So here we're going to create a very simple situation. $1 million, taxable or pre-tax, whatever. Give us a distribution you want to model. You don't have to show it, but you do need to put in a distribution tax rate. Down here, what we're going to say is, what do we want to allocate between the buffer and here, let me refresh this. Sorry, guys. There we go. What do we want to allocate part of the market-driven account to a buffer account? And a buffer account is presumably a fixed index annuity in this case. Now, guys, we don't specifically say annuity because it is a concept. And in concept, could it be buffered notes? Could it be an option overlay strategy? It could be, right? But presumably an FIA. So what we're going to show in this is a market-driven account alone, all out in the cold, and a market-driven account happily married to a buffer strategy and the difference between the two. Down here, we're going to make a very simple one-year S&P strategy kind of annuity. In the bond replacement and in the index strategy analyzer, we can go crazy with
different indexes.
all the different indexes, triggers, dual directional triggers, blending a 1, 2, and 3-year strategy all together. I mean, you can create really neat allocations in the ISA, but here we're going to stay really simple. So let's save and run it. And we're going to be presented with a little bit of the story. And it goes like this. So John and Mary, if we rewound to the beginning of the century, just back to 2000, what is the average rate of return, the raw returns of the S&P 500? And it's about 7.68. Like, okay. And it's always starting like this. What if we rewind to the beginning of the century? And if we had $1 million and growing at this average, like a lot of people do with Excel, we would have 4.7 million even after taxes at the end of last year. Okay, cool. And let's say I wanted to take out 48,000 a year, 4,000 a month. Okay, I should be able to do that, right? If I'm making 7.68, I should be able to do it. Okay, and you'd be right. Cool. But that's not how it really works in the real world, is it? Returns are volatile. And so let's go here and change from average to the actual year by year returns of, again, just the raw returns of the S&P 500. And if we bought, held, and pray that it works out, it does, but we don't have 4.7 as our ending anymore. We have 3.5. If you want to get into a discussion between actual return and average return, you're free to do so. That's the why of this, plus some different tax treatment because of these big years and carry forwards and all that stuff. But that's the reason it doesn't match, even though if we look at our summary card, it is the same average. Well, now let's test the income production ability. This is a key word I think you guys might want to consider adopting, or phrase, the IPA. Let's test its income production ability. If I turn on my 48,000 a year again, my withdrawals, what do you think is going to happen? And they're not dumb. I don't know. It might be different. You'd be right. It would die here in 2019. So here we are in 2026 together. How would you feel if you had run out of money 6 or 7 years ago? They don't like that. They squirm. But it's still the same average. Okay, so let's do this. Let's reverse the returns. Will my average change? No. Will my annual returns change? No. Just the order. And well, I'm fine. Okay. What if I did highest to lowest? Oh, I'm really fine. What if I did lowest to highest? Dead in the water. And if I sat there and randomized these returns over and over, sometimes I'll be fine, and sometimes I won't be fine. That is the point. And so if you really want to illustrate sequence of returns, this is such a fun tool. They can play too. They can press the buttons, and you're involving them in the sales process. Okay, so let's reset that, go back here, take away the distributions, and now introduce the concept of a buffer strategy. What if we reallocated half of the portfolio to use a buffer strategy? And it works like this, right? And you take a minute and explain it. So let's turn that on. If I didn't take any withdrawals and the market account were all on its own, we ended with 3.5, right? Okay. Come back here. What's the first thing you notice about half of the money now? There are no more red years. There is no more recovery period for half of the money. And instead of 3.5 at the end, it would have 4.9. Now, guys, we can have a discussion all day long about rate integrity. That's important, obviously. So take that into account here. But you're showing something here that a massive swing to the good happens when you involve a buffer type strategy. Okay, well, now let's do distributions, but let's make them work together. They're happily married together for accumulation. How do they work together for distribution? If the market is positive, we will take the following year, we'll take the withdrawal from the market side. If the market is negative, then the following year, we will take our withdrawal from the buffer side and let the market recover. Teamwork. All right, so here we go. So we see ping pong back and forth. And instead of dying, what did we die? Shoot.
It was in 2017.
2019. Okay. Now with the buffer involved and teamwork, we still have $360,000 left over. And no matter what I do, I can shuffle these returns. Just pay attention to this with me. Total value. Over here, my total value is 1.6 million because of working together. Over here, I start with $1 million with the market alone, and I only get out of it 934,000. I don't even get the million out because of the order of the returns. So let me shuffle this over and over and pay attention to total value, right? So maybe there's a situation we're saying where the market account alone wins. 1.6 versus 2.3, 900 versus 1.7, 2.4 versus 3.5, 1.1 versus 2.1. You
all
right?
Do this a lot, like over and over and over.
What will typically happen somewhere in this is the client might say, well, wait a minute, we're only doing 50%. What if we did a little more? Okay, let's look. What if we did 60? They will talk themselves into a larger annuity. Now, do your suitability, make sure it's right. But now we end with 577, not 360. And our success probability is 84% versus 73 or 2, whatever it was. Now we've got all kind of graph fun over here too you can do. And what I kind of like doing on just the accumulation, you'll say, okay, the green is the market all alone in the cold, right? And the blue is buffer and market happily married. And you can do the game here too, because it feels a little bit interactive. Shuffle, shuffle. Tell me when the green line wins in the end. And, if you prefer like a dark mode, I actually like dark mode blue quite a bit. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, I love that. So, you can just play the game. And the point you're making here to John and Mary is in the end, these two things are better when they're happily married together. What you're not doing is saying an annuity is better than the market. That's not necessarily true. Or in either of those, you can reverse the statement. That's not necessarily true either. What you are saying, you're taking away the friction or the schism or the competition because there doesn't need to be any. And that's this tool. When Kristen first used it, demoed it, right? Used it to the alpha testing. It was a $7 million client. She wrote a $1.6 million ticket the first time because it made so much sense and how clear it was. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for you. I'd love it if it did for all of you. But that's the power of the visualization that we're talking about here. So, and you can say, John and Mary, that's why I think we ought to use, reallocate some of the account to a buffer account. How do you feel? And yes, you can create a PDF of all of this as well, of everything. Okay, guys, that's okay. All right.
That's perfect. I love this.
Very
I mean, they're like you said, those static PDFs, because I have a bunch of them with sequence of returns and teaching. You can't
uh,
refresh and let's run another scenario. Let's run another scenario. What if the markets did this the next 20 years? And what if the negative years were in different? I think that to me is the biggest thing people want to see. Like, it's like that Monte Carlo projection
ish.
that people
Yeah.
talk about, but you get to do it live in front of them and
Mhm.
quickly show them the impact of all these different variations. And they're
Yep.
not, they're not going to have you run through 1,000 of them, but I'm sure once you've gone through 10 or 20, you're kind of like
It just
they understand now. They're kind of getting that concept. Yeah.
it just helps show it. I mean, yeah, we all got static slides, and what if we reverse the returns and all that? But man, just having something so interactive, dynamic, real-time update, real-time change, involve the
It changes
client.
the meeting.
It does.
And you stand out. Like you said, the whole key is you want to be the most memorable. Like they are speaking to maybe one or two other advisors. And if you're the only one that had this engagement, you took the time to really go back and forth with them, that they feel serviced, and we're in a business where service wins, right?
Mhm.
And so that's another element that I really love about it.
And I'm sorry that we don't have time to demonstrate the bond replacement, but holy cow, is this a powerful one? It's just recently released. Um, oh my gosh, is that a fun one? I'll tell you this too, guys. When you're a member of WealthlogiX, every new development we do, you just get. We don't upsell you. We don't increase your prices. It's 19 a month extra if you want. I
Yeah.
hate that garbage. It's just you're in. You're part of the family. We're going to eventually do hybrid long-term care. We're doing things, and you will just have it.
I love it.
Yeah, no, that's I'm excited to get everybody involved to be a part of that exclusive boot camp training where we really want to give you a more engaging experience through the software. I know a lot of what we're talking about is 10,000 foot view concepts also with the software, but we want to give you a more hands-on experience and be a part of that. So no, excited. And I think a lot of people are wondering what's the cost to be a part of this? What does it mean to be part of be a member of WealthlogiX and be a part of the whole process? Well, one of the things that we've always emphasized. And thanks again for covering all these different concepts, the index strategy analyzer. I think that's something we're definitely going to cover on our next call, along with the bond replacement. But just alone, having the retirement buffer, the tax scorecard, and the income foundation, those specific features inside the software, just enough for many of you to really take it to the next level for your sales process. And when you think about all the things that are part of that, like we mentioned before, there are a ton of other software platforms out there that are in the three, four, even $500 a month. You guys have made it very affordable. For month-to-month access, we're talking about $129 per month per user billed monthly. And if I understand it, you can, at that monthly access, you can technically cancel at any time, right? If I understand it correctly.
Yes.
No long-term contract commitments.
Yep. Nope.
Perfect. Awesome. So, but we want to take it even further. We said, all right, for those who are truly, if you're like, I could use this now. I've got clients like I'm thinking about, I've got the last 10 appointments I didn't close. We all got those clients that are sitting on the fence. Man, this is a tool I could use right now to spark that conversation. We want to give you access immediately, and we're going to do it through an exclusive offer here at the Win Group, for where you can have the full year's worth of access, a $1,500 value paid for by us having an opportunity to earn that business. We call it our $100,000 challenge. $100,000 of fixed annuity business, index annuity business gets placed through us. We're going to cover the cost or reimburse you either way if you decide you need it even sooner, fully. And that's a big part of our commitment, to not just us making sure that you have the right tools in place, but also we see this as a partnership. We want to make sure that you guys are utilizing the processes in place that we see in our retirement shield system be worked over and over again. Concept-driven storytelling. This is honestly the perfect marriage that we see for a lot of agents when looking for that missing piece to get them to the next level. So we ask you, go to annuitysaleslogics.com. That's Logix with an X. And you'll find an opportunity to book a demo call to consider it an access call for you to have the opportunity to use the tools inside of WealthLogic. But we're going to take it even further. For anyone who is here with us now, here attending live, we've registered your name as a part of our event. And at the conclusion of today's call, we're going to actually pick a one lucky agent who's currently a partner producer with us, or if you're not yet, who becomes a partner producer, get the first 3 months access at no cost, right? No strings attached other than this being a partnered producer with the Win Group, or if you're not an active one yet, you become one, you're eligible to get that 3 month access for free. In fact, I'm feeling generous today. We're going to take it even further. We're going to give two agents are going to have that 3 month access. We're going to draw it based on the people who've attended live today. We're going to pick one producer who's already been a producer with us, a partnered agent with the Win Group, and then one who hasn't yet joined. We're going to give away two 3 month access memberships to the WealthLogic platform. So go to our website at annuitysaleslogics.com, book your access and demo call for a personalized walkthrough and a client demonstration in case you have someone you're thinking about. And we'd love to answer your questions further. But yeah, with that being said, are we any other questions that have popped up? Any final words or thoughts as we again move on to providing access to the agents that are here on this call?
Well, one thing that I can say is that we have all been around the block more than a couple times, and we've looked at this point, dozens of tools like this. And I can tell you that everything that you just saw, like they repeatedly were emphasizing, is about 20 to 25% of the capability of what this tool can do for you. And it's coming in at half the cost of all these other tools that we look at. And so there's really nothing else to say other than if you like saving money and closing deals, this is going to be the tool for you. It's phenomenal, and it's cheaper than anything that I have recommended in the past before WealthLogiX existed. And then the other thing that is phenomenal about our partnership with Kristen and Keith is that we are partners. We're friends with these folks of many, many years. We've worked with Keith for years, to the point where you would be getting in on the ground floor of an ever growing, ever changing tool that we will have the ability to be in Kristen and Keith's ear and tell them, just like they are agents out there writing in the field, what other agents out there writing in the field are looking for in a tool. And you can be part of changing and growing this tool to be even better for yourself as well. And then, like Keith said there at the end, get grandfathered in at this cheaper price with no extra $19 a month, $25 a month. So there's no better time than now. Reach out to us, go on that Annuity Sales Logics website as well, get in touch with us, and get started with this tool as soon as you can.
Yeah, and I wanted to throw in too the point of, the number one mistake I most commonly hear from agents that are only writing a couple annuities a year, and they come in to work with us and they're trying to mirror what other agents that work with us are doing when they're writing 5, 10 plus million in annuities every year. And they're like, how are they doing that? How are they doing that? And the biggest mistake is that they pull out an illustration right at the beginning of their process, and they pull that up on the screen, and they're just used to walking through all the pages of an illustration, and they're showing them right away. I have an annuity product for you right away. Hey, here's the product I'm thinking of using. At the beginning of their process, they're doing this. And that is the number one mistake. And what I'm finding is that the consistent message across all of our biggest producers is they are building things into their process that have multiple steps along the way, where they're both educating and positioning themselves as an educator, but they're educating and selling more of the concept of the feature that they know in the back of their mind that the annuity is going to be the solution, but they try their hardest to never position it as an annuity until they have to, until it's the very end. And they're like, hey, now that you've seen the interior of the car, and we got you sold on the leather interior and the features inside the engine, and we've shown you all these elements of the car, here's the shell I was thinking of using that it has all those features. What do you think about this? And that's where you have the highest probability of increasing your closing percentage and increasing your production overall. And so we're just trying to, bring those things home, give you access to be able to bring that into your process, and continually keep training and educating yourself on how to do that better. And that's what I love about the way that you guys have approached this. And it shows that it came from a producer that's been through all this before, Kristen. And I know when I was saying those things, you've experienced it all. So, you've been down that road. So So let's help everybody else get there too.
Yeah, kudos to you,
Yeah.
Kristen, and thanks for taking the time with us today. And I know Keith looked like he had to
Yeah, no
go
problem.
into another appointment, but always good to have you guys to walk through the just the ground up with what you guys have built here. That's like I said, it's been a labor of love over the last 2 years, and best part about it, it's something that you've incorporated into your process over the years. That's creating a lot more success for you. So congratulations on your achievement with the software, and looking forward to sharing it with our field of agents out there with the Win Group.
Definitely.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kristen.
We'll
Thank
go ahead
you.
and wrap it up here. If you caught the front end, or maybe missed the end, or maybe if you came at the end and missed the front end, we want to make sure that you know that today's training and demo is going to be recorded. Will be available on our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribing yet, make sure to follow us on YouTube. It's a Win Group now. You can tap that into the search bar on YouTube. All of the content, all the training, and all the opportunity interviews that we do with our partnership network. We want to make sure that's readily available for you to access on demand. And yeah, make sure to ask us about the Retirement Shield 360 system. We talked a little bit about that, but if you're looking for a full process from beginning to that addresses content, addresses credibility, addresses the connections you make, like how we're using WealthBox to enhance the connections with your clients. And then last but not least, a community. We have over 200 plus members across the nation, independent producers that are part of this community, learning from each other and really just sharing the wins and challenges of how to get to the next level. So make sure to book a call, ask us about the Retirement Shield 360 system, and we can't wait for you to learn more about how you can help enhance your practice. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.